Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Today we're going to have a look at something that happens in the hobby. I wouldn't say it's a regular thing, but it does happen. We've only ever had a couple of cases here in the Beastie Room, and it's what we're talking about is the issue of wet malts. You know, what is a wet malt? And the simple answer is no one really seems to fully know why certain spiders have what we call a wet molt. So what is a wet molt? Well, because we have so little understanding, we don't really know what a wet molt is. There's been suggestions that it could be food based. They're not getting the right nutrients through their food, which I don't think is really there. I don't think that holds a lot of weight. Also, we get a lot of people say wet malts come through humidity, and I don't think this is true either. I don't think this has anything to do with it. Out of the ones that we've had here, now we've got a adult female versicolor in here, and we've got an adult female P. Victorii in here. Now the one thing that these guys have that is totally in common with them is they are both quite old spiders. And we also had an avic, which also had a wet molt, and again it was a very old spider. So out of all of the years that we've been keeping spiders, we've never really suffered this, and when it has happened, we've only ever had it maybe, I don't know, probably not even half a dozen times.
Yeah, you've had two in the same.
Yeah, two in this last year. Now, each time that it has happened, the only really thing that sticks out that is common with all of them has been age, and that seems to be the sticking point. It seems to be really old spiders. So if I open this up, I mean, food wise, we gut load all the food, so they get a really good thing. And as you can see, this one's still feeding. There's crap all over the bleeding glass, so we know, you know, she still takes food. Like I say, this is an adult female. Now if you look at her,
You're shadowing.
if you look at her, you can see that she's got, like, she's lost that fluffy appearance, that real healthy, vibrant, fluffy sort of look about her. The colour is really washed out. And if you look at the
Put a bit of light on her for me.
we can try that. I would do if I had my torch,
If I got it in.
and I haven't even got my phone. We can try this. Yeah. So as you can see, she's totally lost that vibrant fluffiness and the strong colour. It's all a bit muted. And if you look at the hairs, the setae on the legs, you can see that it's almost like she's got wet and dried out and hasn't shook herself to get all that fluffiness back. So it's like it's a bit like what I call a bit of a starry look about it. It's really quite strange. Now, one of the things that's common is when they have one of these wet molts, they actually lose some of the mobility. So it's almost like they become really old and lethargic overnight, and they don't move. It's almost like they lose a little bit of coordination. Now, sometimes with a wet molt, the legs can actually set in quite a stiff posture, so they lose that little bit of maneuverability within a leg. Now, this one here has still got full use of its legs, really. It's not been affected in that way. And our Victoria as well, she's good as well in that respect. But they both got that real starry look. Now if we have a look at the Victoria, you can see it even more so in her. Look how all that colour has really gone. It's sort of washed out. They just look really, really drab. It's difficult to explain. It's like they've dried out but lost the fluffiness. Now both these spiders are still continuing to feed, so you know it doesn't affect them that badly in that way. But it obviously does have an effect. Now sometimes within a wet molt a spider can die while it's actually having that molt. We've been lucky with these guys. These have actually pulled through and they just look terrible. They just don't, they just don't have that luster that they had before. And we see this with some of our spiders as they get old, and we got a few spiders that have really sort of like they're getting on for being pretty ancient, and they do lose a little bit of that luster about them. In the wild they would have fell prey to something else, something would have come along and eaten them, but in captivity obviously they're taken care of, and they're protected, so they don't have to worry about stuff like that. I think what we'll do, we will try and get this Victoria out onto a piece of wood so we can have a little look and see how she moves. We'll see what she does. So we'll turn that off. As I say, all of our food that we feed our spiders is all gut loaded and it's all good food. So I don't believe it's anything to do with diet. I really don't. And I don't believe it's anything to do with humidity either, because we can have spiders that are kept exactly the same and they're not suffering these problems at all.
Wouldn't diet be the most sensible one, as you're saying, when it's needing hydration and that? They're not like reptiles that can...
So if you see how she moves, she still moves like a good spider. You see, she's still got all her legs. What we're doing, she doesn't want to leave. Oh, come on. As you can see, she's got full movement of those legs. But there's all the fluffiness is gone. Everything's gone. You see how she's moving? She's got perfect mobility. So is this something that's just really coming down to the fact that she's a bit of an old girl? I think it's quite interesting. We know so little about this sort of stuff, and how do we learn? I mean, how do we ascertain what is going on? As you can see here now, we're sort of moving her around. She's not showing us any aggression or anything. She's just sort of like thinking, what on earth is going on here?
So they tend to walk with their belly down rather than...
Well, yeah, that is something that they do. Another interesting thing that we've noticed is that we've only had it in arboreal spiders. We've not had terrestrial spiders. She's not going to come out. We've not had terrestrial spiders exhibit this thing, but there has been cases. There has been cases of spiders that have terrestrial spiders that have had wet molts as well. We've just not happened to have one. So again, the fact that we're not getting them suggests that it isn't a dietary thing. I don't think it's a humidity thing either. I'm really coming around to it being more and more an age related. Now, as we saying, like, her legs are quite good. You can see how she sort of sits on her toes, but she has got full use of all of her appendages. See if she'll come back out. Oh, I don't really want to. Here we go. Now look at this. I hope the camera can see this real shininess in the leg here. You see that shininess, and that is often through many of the parts of the leg. It's almost like they've gone bald.
I know how she feels.
Yeah. But as you can see there, she has got there's no luster to her at all. Now all we can hope for now is that we can get a clean molt in her next molt. So we will keep feeding her and see what happens. And hopefully we can get another molt out of her. And we will see then whether that molt is a successful molt or whether it suffers the same sort of problems. Let's see if we'll try and see if we can get this one to come out. I thought it would just be nice if we could get them on the log and then we could try and get a bit of a decent look at them. It's not always the easiest thing. Now this one moves a little bit differently. It's still not bad. Here we go. Do you think maybe we can come out? Are you going to come out on the log for me? He says, not if I can help it. Here we go. There we go, you're nearly there. Nearly there. Here we go. Right. So now we can get her out into some decent light. You can see we've still got a little bit of colour and fluffiness in the abdomen here. But it's the legs. You notice how the back legs have still got a bit of fluffiness about them. But the front, nothing at all. See if we can't get her come up here a bit. As you can see, she actually moves around really well. If I turn her around, there we go. So this isn't it's not a terrible case, but some weeks ago she looked much drier than this. So it's actually, she's getting fluffier as we go through the time. But we still don't understand what it was. Now, when a tarantula molts, it actually secretes a fluid between its new exoskeleton and this one that it's wearing now. And we believe that that fluid, for whatever reason, might be slightly different. We don't really know. But it's coming down, and it's, for some reason or other, the spider doesn't dry out totally. It takes ages and ages and ages for it to fully dry out. Whereas a normal spider would shed that skin off and then start hardening up immediately. And within no time at all, it's actually, it's doing its thing and everything is looking good. So it definitely appears to be something within the fluid between the new exoskeleton, the fluid being pumped between that and the old exoskeleton. Which I think is why much of this has actually come around to it being a dietary thing. But I don't believe it is. So as you can see there again, she can move around, same as the other one. We've got no issues there. Some cases we've seen on social media where the spiders literally have deformed legs and what have you. Some of them, they molt so badly that they lose mobility. And many of them can actually die through a wet molt or a bad molt. Now, to try and avoid this,
can I see her bottom now?
I can turn around. To try and avoid this, I think, we need to maintain really good food, good quality food, which we can do that by gut loading our food. We can also keep them in the best parameters possible. And that is by staying on top of our husbandry, making sure that they're not too wet, not too dry, all dependent on what species you're looking after at the time. But we try and keep them as the best way we can. And even that being done, we still very occasionally get this happen. It's so confusing because, you know, you're asking yourself, is it something I've done? Is it something my husbandry is? Could that be changed? You know, could I do something better? And the simple answer is, we just really have no idea what causes this. And when you've got absolutely no idea, how can you change something? You just don't know. You don't know what to do. And there is many things going on within the hobby that we just don't know. You know, it's like spiders just dying for no apparent reason. They seem perfectly healthy, and then the following day they're dead. You know, is this part of natural selection? Is this part of old age that we're seeing here? Maybe our next molt will show us, and see how they come out of that. But there is definitely something there, and questions that really need to be answered. But I think it's going to take some serious study, which unfortunately is something that doesn't really happen within the hobby. You know, we don't get too much in the way of real sort of in-depth studies being done by people far knowledgeable than us, you know, scientists and things like this, that where they really understand the workings and everything that goes on. They need to be sort of like anatomical in what they understand and what they know, and they will stand a better chance of actually trying to get to the root of these problems. We are just playing a guessing game, and that's all we can do. But I thought it would be an interesting thing just to have a look at them and just see. Now, with in terms of care, one of the things that we noticed with these was when they actually had their wet molt, it took them an awful long time to harden up properly, and also to actually gain full mobility. This girl here, she has been like this now for must be 2 months or more, and as you can see now, she's starting to move around just as she would if she was a normal spider. We're going to ask her to go backwards now because we don't really want her to walk away. But you can see she's very sort of laid back and everything's working. This is such a confusing thing. But she is an old girl. She is very old. So yeah, so what we do is, it took a long time for both of these spiders to actually dry out and regain full mobility with everything. So we just had to be patient. We took a long time before we offered them food. With these ones as well, I generally now tongue feed these, so I actually give them the food and they take it straight out of the forceps, and they're feeding like that. And that way we can maintain that they're getting their grub. And that's all we can do. We can just try and make life as easy as possible. But like I say, these aren't terrible examples of a wet molt. These have been on the good side. And you can see that this leg here has actually deformed. So when she's waving that around, you'll see that the two last segments here come in, they point in. And I think what's happened there is when they've molted out on the webbing, and she's sat for too long in one position, and what's happened is that exoskeleton has dried out, and that has formed that misshapen limb, and that's what it's done. So it seems to be more in the way of mobility, and because they don't have that full mobility, as soon as they've dried out.
Can you get her to walk forward a little bit so we can capture that?
We can try. This is the limb we're looking for.
Yeah.
I'll try and get her to move. But I think, there you go, see how she waves it, see how it sticks in? She's got use of it, but it doesn't bend like the other leg. And this here, it curls round. And I think it's where they suffer, where they don't get full mobility. If I move it. If they don't get full mobility and they just sit still, the exoskeleton actually dries up. Now, if I tilt her right the way up, you can see how the leg bends. It goes around and then comes round this way. It's almost like a banana, how it comes round. And if you look at this one, how it's straighter. And this is where I think she sat far too long in one position. when she was drying out.
Yeah, that's sort of like say at the end there, you've just got that like
Yeah, it's got a curl to it. It's only slightly, but it's enough. And in the wild state, you know, it might be enough to cause problems. If you look at the setae on the fangs and that there, you can see it's all laid flat. It's dried flat to the actual fang. It's not fluffy. They've literally, you can see it at different points of the leg where it's dried flat instead of being fluffy. So whatever is actually causing this, whatever causes them problems, it would appear that the real danger is the amount of time it takes our spider to actually dry out. That is the problem. Because normally our spiders actually dry out much quicker, and they set and they do really well. What we've got to do now is try and get her back in.
Oh, let's come back in then. We'll see her moving about.
Yeah, so we're going to put that up there. Just point her in the right direction. Go on, girl. Once she feels that web, there we go. There you go, look. Once she feels the web, she's back up on it. There we go. And there she is.
Home sweet home.
Yep. It's amazing how they quickly settle once they get back in familiar surroundings, how happy and settled they are. So another thing that we've actually done with these as well is when we come to water them, we quite often just drip water down right where they are, and they will suck it up off of the webbing. If we do it with our little squeezy bottles, we can actually just squeeze enough and they will drink directly from it. They'll take it literally just like that. So they do get mollycoddled a little bit, but you know, it's worth the extra effort because these guys are still alive. They're still doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a very interesting thing. If anyone else has any theories or whatever, put them down in the comments. It would be great to hear people's ideas and things, because like I say, whatever you read on the internet, it's all guesswork. No one really knows what is going on here. So it is literally just guesswork. I don't think there is any definitive answer. Right, well, I hope you like that little insight into something that's not particularly nice in the hobby. You know, it's not something we really want to see, but it does happen. And even with the best will in the world, it can still happen. So, you know, if it happens to you, don't beat yourself up about it. You know, it could literally just be one of those things. We just honestly don't know. So just keep pushing forward, learn what you can, and the aftercare is the important thing. When we get one of these go down like this, it's the aftercare. Something that's worth mentioning actually is when you get spiders that have a really bad molt, not necessarily a wet molt, but just a bad molt, and their legs are stuck in and things like this. I know this doesn't sound very good, but the vast majority of the time, them spiders are finished. If they're that badly stuck in their molts, they're done for, and you are better off euthanizing that spider than you are trying to pull its legs out of its old exoskeleton, because 9 times out of 10 they will break. You are putting them through enormous stress. And to see spiders, and I've seen this on social media, spiders that have so-called been saved with only 3 legs, you know, it's not good. It's not good, guys. You are not helping anything by saving a spider with 3 legs. Even should you get that spider and literally drip feed it for however long it takes it to molt out again, it could be months upon months. Even if you get it to molt out, it is not going to regenerate all those legs to that point. It's going to take time and a long time, you know. So please, it really it grieves me when I see spiders that have lost so much and then they are literally just dragged through and kept going for as long as possible. These guys have a habit of being able to hold on in the worst circumstances, and we shouldn't really be prolonging that. You know, there comes a point where sometimes enough is enough and we need to just let go. So yeah, the aftercare is the important thing when we have things like these wet mulch. Right, well, hopefully our next video will be on a much lighter note. And we'll have something nice to see, I'm sure. Right then, well, I hope you enjoyed that and get something from it. And don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I'll see you all soon, guys.